Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had a great weekend. We got a great show for you today. We got a couple of pretty good topics. I hope we have time to cover them both. But corporations and people are leaving the big cities, the big states like California and New York in droves. They are relocating to places like Texas and my great state of Florida. And we're going to talk about some specific big corporations that are leaving California and setting up shop in Texas. And we're going to talk about Texas in general as well. And then if we have time, we're going to get into a story I tried to cover on Friday, but I think it's worth getting into, and that is Nancy Pelosi. If she ends up being Speaker of the House, she has come out now and said that they are going to have a vote on the House floor about repealing the Hyde Amendment, which essentially means that they will take your tax dollars and pay for abortions through Planned Parenthood and other organizations. Your tax dollars, whether you believe in it or not, go to pay for abortions. And we'll talk all about that. Before we go any further, I have to mention Big Daddy Unlimited, our sponsor. We come to you live Monday through Friday, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on various Facebook channels and also on our YouTube channel. Spell it all the way out. John Martin Talks. We're on Rumble, BitChute. We're growing every single day. But our sponsor is Big Daddy Unlimited. How you get to, they are literally your Second Amendment headquarters. Look above the show, above the video, wherever you're watching or whenever you're watching it, and you will see a show description. Scroll down on that, click on our sponsorship link, and it will go to Big Daddy Unlimited, where you can get factory direct pricing on guns, ammunition. Yes, I said guns and ammunition. Not only that, but swag and all kind of tactical gear. Literally thousands of items shipped directly to your door at factory direct pricing. So check them out, Big Daddy Unlimited. We're also having a giveaway. We got another week left in the giveaway, and we're giving away 3 shirts to one lucky listener. Those shirts come from Patriot Threads. I'm kind of sporting one of their shirts right now. Patriot Threads is a great organization, family run. Check them out at patriotthreads.org. But to get the free giveaway, just look at the same area where I told you to look for the sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited, and you'll see the giveaway. No obligation whatsoever. Click on that, fill out the link, and one lucky listener will get those 3 shirts. And if you want to check out, and I think you should, Patriot Threads in general, go to patriotthreads.org, plug in the promo code JMT, John Martin Talks, JMT, and you can get 20% off of everything they sell there now, and they sell shirts like this. They are apparel with a purpose is their slogan, and they can help your organization if you're trying to do a charity event, for instance, like a motorcycle run, any kind of charity event, fishing tournaments. All you got to do is go to Patriot Threads. They'll help you design a shirt for your organization. They'll do all the shipping, handling, processing, all of that, and they will give whatever you tell them, a percentage of the proceeds directly to the charity of your choice. You cannot go wrong with Patriot Threads, JMT, 20% off promo code. I got a big announcement too. We're probably before this week is out. Certainly we're working on it. We're going to be on Recoil TV. If you haven't checked them out, check out Recoil TV YouTube channel. They got about 50,000 and growing subscribers. They do great videos about Second Amendment issues and everything else. They demonstrate products, all that type of stuff. Check it out, and we're going to be on there in the not too distant future. Before I get into the actual show for today, I want to kind of update you on something. We're not going to get too in depth in it, but as Friday night late, kind of Friday evening, it came out, because we did a lot of stories about Texas this past week and how they were stepping up to the plate and challenging the election, and they had like 18 other states. I think the total number actually grew into the 20s. Texas has the cojones to challenge. We talked about secession, and we may get into that in a little bit as well. But Friday evening, it was announced that the Supreme Court decided not to take up the case. They did not take up the case. We're not going to get too in-depth in it right now, but it is a dadgum shame. And as I said on my Friday show, check out our podcast. There's several ways to do that. Go to our YouTube channel, spell it all the way out, John Martin Talks. Of course, you can check us out on America's Voice News. We're broadcast on there in the mornings on their Facebook Live. Howdy, how are you guys? Glad to be there. We're also on their streaming service as a late night channel show. You can download the free app on your Android or your iPhone. We're there on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, Channel 219 Dish Network, and the Pluto channel. They are a great alternative to the mainstream media. But Texas, let me tell you, thank you. I want to just say thank you to Texas for standing up. And the bottom line on this, ladies and gentlemen, I went in depth on it on Friday because I kind of thought this might happen, is that now we know where we stand. Think about this. 3 judges that Donald Trump appointed they didn't want to take up the case. The only 2 that said they wanted to take up the case was Alito and Justice Thomas. The Supreme Court, now if we can't depend on them, then where do we go? I don't know. I tell you, I wish I had an answer for you. I just don't know. Because the Electoral College votes later today. And, in absent some kind of miracle, which could easily happen, I suppose, it looks like that, and of course, let me back up, the Trump organization has a few more chips to play in their legal fight. So I'm not saying there is no path, but the best path would have been this Texas case prevailing. And when you think about the fact that basically 20-some-odd states, almost half the states in the Union, and over 100 members of Congress wanted and the Trump administration as well, wanted the Supreme Court to take up this case, and they refused to do it, not even hear the evidence really in the case, which there's a ton of it, then it's a sorry state of affairs we're in right now. We got some choices and decisions to make, and as I say, the Electoral College votes a little bit later today, and I hate to even utter these words, but it looks like we're on the verge of a president-elect, not right now, but a president-elect Joe Biden. God help us. I got to tell you right now, and I'm not even talking about this election. Back when Joe Biden announced that he was running, I never thought he had a prayer of actually even getting the nomination, let alone being president. He's been a lousy candidate, a lousy senator, and I don't have any doubt he's going to be a lousy president. And it's going to be extremely difficult, if not impossible, for people like myself, I'll just say it, to accept a Biden presidency when we haven't even had a clear airing of the case. And I'm not even talking about voter fraud per se, because I'm sure there's plenty of that. But this dropping of the case without even hearing the evidence is a slap in the face to anyone, in my opinion, but it's an opinionated fact nonetheless, to anyone who is a constitutional loving member of this great republic. And we're going to talk about that as this show unfolds. And let me just make a quick housekeeping announcement. I'm going to be out tomorrow. I'm taking there's no issue, but I got some business I'm taking care of, and I will not be here tomorrow, but we will have a show. We're going to re-air a great interview I did a week and a half or so ago with Sig Taylor. If you didn't see it, you don't want to miss it. He's an extraordinary fella, and you'll see. Just check it out. So we're going to have that interview. But I'll be back, Lord willing, 100% live on Wednesday morning. All right, let's get into this story. And this is about the consequences, I think, of what is happening in our great nation. I think you can even tie in, even though this decision I'm about to talk about was made before the Supreme Court threw out the case on Mr. Trump. But all of that together, where the direction that the country is going, people are voting with their feet, so to speak. And this is about California, but there's other companies. And this is a CNBC article. Oracle is moving its headquarters from Silicon Valley to Austin, Texas. They are fleeing to the great Lone Star state of Texas. Oracle is the latest tech company to move its headquarters out of California. The company said on Friday it's moving its headquarters from the Silicon Valley to Austin, Texas. Now, Oracle is one of the standard bearers, if you will, one of the longest standing companies that kind of created Silicon Valley. So this is a big, big deal for them to announce that they are moving their headquarters out of essentially where they started in California to Austin, Texas. And I want to play you this video before we go any further. This is a video, it's about 2 minutes long. It doesn't specifically have anything to do with Oracle, but it's Donnie Deutsch. I don't know if you know who Donnie Deutsch is. He's a regular now on Morning Joe on MSNBC. And this video, you got Nicole Wallace and him and another gentleman, his name escapes me at the moment. And they're talking about the challenges that the Trump administration has made in the election. They're talking about the Texas case and all, and I think it's before the Friday throwing out of the case and all that. But I want to play this because it explains to me why people are fed up with what's happening here. It explains how they look at us, how they, the elite, the progressive leftist elite, which Donnie Deutsch fits right in the middle of that. He's a New York City guy all the way. He hates Donald Trump. I'll tell you that right now. And he hates us. He hates us, the American people that support Donald Trump. In any event, let's listen to it. We'll come back and talk about it. It just burns me up. Check it out.
5 minutes ago.
Donnie, it's almost eerie to hear someone talk like that. We are so starved of this sort of language of grief and loss.
What are the traits of a leader? It's three things. It's honesty, it's empathy, and it's having a vision. It's the honesty to confront a problem and say, we have a problem, and here's the loss, here's the problem. The empathy is the most important part. And I understand and I can feel it. I feel you, and you feel that from him. And the third part is having a vision about how we're going to solve the problem. Here's the problem. In one of your earlier segments, you were showing a crowd at a Trump rally or an anti-coronavirus rally, and somebody held up a sign that said, 99% survival rate is not an emergency, which that's the mindset of somebody. If you were in a movie theater with 100 people and one person was going to die, the other 99 shouldn't care, shouldn't huddle around it. And that's the...
What is patriot?
I don't know what happened. Did we not? There was more to that video. Oh, it had an advertisement. Sorry about that.
Part of this country, I'll call the ungreatest generation, that is a me culture. And if it doesn't affect me, I don't give a damn. I mean, that sign said it all. And that's the problem. Even if you have Biden's leadership and it has those three traits, if you have a huge part of this population, and we do, and I see the sadness in your face today, Nicole. You look like you're going to cry. I feel the same way. And what it comes down to is that certain people can't be led. If you have enough people who just don't give a damn unless it affects them, it's hard to solve that problem. And we have a segment that is the ungreatest generation, and that's the sadness that we have here. That can't look at that number, 3,000, and go, those are people. They can't process it. If it doesn't affect them, they can't process it. And that's it.
But I can't imagine being in a movie theater, Donnie, and if one person started choking, everybody wouldn't get up and call 911. Like, I just refuse to believe that that's who we are. I think there's a chunk of the country that's been fed lies, and I'm not taking out the responsibility for believing the lies and being attracted to the lies. I know a lot of people who are high on the lies, myself in my own life. But I refuse to believe that we can't be led, at least some of us, to a somewhat brighter place. It is the absence of any forum for feeling the loss. Go ahead.
But maybe we have to get to a point that maybe there are 50 million jerks in this country. Maybe that's the sad truth. And how do we manage that? Because Joe Biden is doing everything right. And when you see that sign and you see maybe there's a chunk of us that really suck as human beings. Maybe that's a reality.
Oh, my God. Check, 50 million people. He's talking about Trump Trump supporters. Of course, there were 4 million people that voted for Donald Trump, something to that effect. 50 million people, he's saying, are just jerks. And they're essentially accusing Trump supporters of being indifferent to people suffering. I mean, the very idea of that is ridiculous. The example he uses is he's being the jerk. If there's 50 million, there's 50 million plus one, Donnie, because you, sir, are a complete jerk. Because you're insinuating that no Trump supporters have had loss from the COVID virus. I mean, it's just ridiculous. How many times have they played up how many Republicans have actually caught COVID-19? The president himself. So there's probably not a family in America that has not been impacted in some way by this COVID-19. What they're talking about with that sign, and I'll say it, you jerk, Donnie Deutsch, is that it doesn't mean that we have to shut the nation down, go into hiding, punish our kids by not allowing them to be in school, destroy people's American dream by shutting down their businesses when it's only basically 1%, if that, of the population that is threatened by this. Okay? And it's Democrats who have exacerbated that problem, not Republicans, and I'm not talking about Democrat voters, although you voted for people like Mr. Cuomo, but who has killed more older people by cramming them in nursing homes when they knew that there was a danger than Cuomo, the governor of New York, that might be the next attorney general, for God's sakes. I mean, so this is why people are looking at challenge. This is why Texas challenged this kind of stuff. Because we want to live in a constitutional republic, not a mob rule that is run by super elites in the major cities like you, Donnie Deutsch. Some of us don't want to live that way. Some of us want to keep the republic that we were given through blood, sweat, and tears of patriots. And this idea that somehow conservatives lack compassion, which is absolutely the opposite of the truth. Any study will show you that conservatives, Republicans in general, give more to charity by far than any Democrats. Look at the president himself, gave his entire salary to charity every single month. Has any other president done that? No, not to my knowledge of any party. So it just burns me, man. And I'm telling you, Mr. Deutsch, I started to say something really bad. I better not. Or something that rhymes with Deutsch, because that's really what he is. It's no wonder that people are fleeing places like California and New York and coming to places like Florida and Texas. What this Supreme Court situation set up Friday when they denied what should have been, they should have, at the very least, they should have heard the evidence in the case. The Supreme Court is supposed to do that. It's not an appeal. They are the trial. They are when a state sues another state, which is why Texas did it that way, by the way. The Supreme Court is supposed to take up that case. And if not over an issue like who the next president of the United States would be, if that is out of their purview of taking it up, and the Supreme Court was not asked to choose who the president was, they were asked to remedy the unconstitutional votes by allowing the legislature through a constitutional process of appointing their own electors. Could have been, in a sense, radical, but I guess I find thinking about this, the Constitution is radical because no other document, to my knowledge, has ever protected the inalienable rights, God-given rights of its citizens and tried to limit government from the overreach against its citizens than the U.S. Constitution. So when you think about it, the true radicals are people who actually believe in the U.S. Constitution because, it's not the norm of human nature. The norm of human nature is to be subject to the realm, sheeple. Well, I can tell you, there are a lot of us out here, Mr. Deutsch, that are not going to stand for that. And you can shout it all you want. You can call us everything but a child of God. And people like me aren't bowing to you ever, ever, sir. I don't know what the future's going to hold, but it looks to me like, and I'm not advocating for any kind of civil war. Don't misunderstand me. It could come to that. I've been warning you for 2 years now that if we don't man the political ramparts, and we need to do it in Georgia right now. You guys in Georgia are voting for the entire nation. I don't care what Deutsch says. Be a jerk if that's what they want to call you. And don't let these progressives take over our country. Because if you don't do your job in Georgia, that's exactly what's going to happen. Because I hate to say it, it looks like President Trump has got a tremendous long shot to hang in there. And we cannot let these people have carte blanche, which is what will happen. The Donnie Deutsches of the world will be calling the shots, so to speak. And so put me in the basket of deplorables, the dregs of society. What did Biden himself say a few months ago? That 15% of the American people, I think is what he said, maybe just bad people. So put me in that 15%. Put me in that 50 million of jerks. Because I'd rather stand with 50 million patriotic jerks than one Donnie douchebag. I mean, I'm sorry, but it just pisses me off. And, I pardon my language a bit here. But let's get back to this story. Oracle is implementing a more flexible employee work location policy and has changed its corporate headquarters from Redwood City, California to Austin, Texas. God bless Texas. We believe these moves best position, this is what Oracle said, for growth and provide our personnel with more flexibility about where and how to work, a spokesman confirmed to CNBC. Well, so they're basically saying it's a quality of life issue, I guess. So taxes, hardcore regulation, overregulation, shutdown, and poop maps have nothing to do with it. I would say they do. And I would ask Mr. Ellison of Oracle, aren't you going to miss the ice cream? If you don't know what I'm talking about, check this out. Let's play this video of Nancy Pelosi.
We're here with House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and we've asked her to share something from her home for a little late show and tell. Speaker Pelosi, what have you found? What are you going to share with us from your home?
Chocolate.
Really?
Chocolate candy.
Oh, wow.
And this is something you can get through the mail.
Okay.
Never run out. Can I show you?
Me. Yeah, absolutely. This is the episode of Cribs I never knew I needed. Oh, my. Wow.
Other people in our family go for some other flavors, but chocolate, and then we have some other chocolate here.
That's good enough. I don't need to hear that anymore. You know what's sad really about that video? The context of it. At the very moment that video was being shot, it was during the height of the original shutdown out in California. Of course, California is totally shut down. Man, I feel for you guys out in California. A lot of great patriots I've been hearing from on a daily basis, and I'm praying for you guys out in California. I don't blame you for not wanting to leave there. California used to be one of the greatest states in the nation. It's a beautiful place. It's being destroyed by progressives. But what really should be shame, but these people know no shame. Pelosi is showing you ice cream and candy while people are losing their very American dreams, while people are trying to figure out how to make ends meet in California. She's bragging about the ice cream she could get. No wonder billionaires like Mr. Ellison, if they have a heart, that's the founder of Oracle, want to leave California. I mean, they want to be free. I'm not going to apologize to Donnie Deutsch or anybody else for standing up for American values. Call me what you want. I don't really care. A bulk of employees, back to this article, a bulk of employees can choose their office. This is what Oracle's statement, their office location, or continue to work from home part-time or full-time, the company said. Well, RP, here's the thing. This is something that big cities are going to have to deal with, especially these crazy ones like New York and LA and San Francisco that are run by Democrats. People aren't, if you can't go to Broadway, if you can't go out and eat, and you're allowed to work from home, which is this pandemic deal, then why would you stay in a place and pay super high taxes and have to step over literally crappy birthday cakes, is what I call them out there in San Francisco, because it's a mound of poop with needles sticking out like candles. Why would you put up with that crap where cars, people leave their, have you heard this? I've said this before, but if I say it, it bears repeating. In San Francisco right now, especially in certain parts of town, right down by City Hall, people literally leave their cars unlocked, and in some cases their windows down. Because if they don't, people will just break into them automatically. So they leave their cars unlocked and their windows undone so people won't smash and dash with their stuff. That's how crazy it's gotten out there. But are people going to stay in these cities with high taxes and high crime if they have a choice? Keep in mind, Oracle has 135,000 roughly employees. Now, they're not all out in California and moving to Texas, but they're worldwide and across the country. But 135,000 people, and they got a choice where they want to live. Do you really think they're going to choose to live in New York City or in poop map San Francisco or in LA where they're defunding the police? Really? You think so? I don't. In addition, we will continue, this is what Oracle said, in addition, we will continue to support major hubs for Oracle around the world, including those in the United States, such as Redwood City, Austin, Santa Monica, Seattle, Denver. If you moved to Denver, you probably hadn't moved far enough. Orlando and Burlington, among others. So they're here in Florida. Welcome. And we expect to add other locations over time. Oracle said, check this out, by implementing a more modern approach to work, they're talking about being able to work from home, we expect to further improve our employees' quality of life and quality of output. That's a big statement. Quality of life and quality of output. Now, what kind of quality of life do you have in New York City right now? Or do you have in LA? Or do you have in San Francisco? Democratic-led cities, ladies and gentlemen, like in Portland and Seattle, are becoming totally unlivable. I saw the gentleman, Mr. McCloskey, because his case has come back in the news. We're not going to really get into it. But he talked about St. Louis had over 250 murders this year alone, the highest I think they've ever had. So these Democrat cities are full of mayhem, and they're becoming totally unlivable. I want to play this quick video. This was a campaign video, probably the best one out there this past year. This gal, her name is Kimberly Klacik, I believe, and she spoke at the Republican National Convention. She ran for the open House seat in Baltimore and cut this video. You could play this video really in inner cities all across America. She got clobbered because you get the people that you deserve when you elect, but she ran one heck of a campaign. But I want to show you this video. Why would you want to live in a place like Baltimore? Check it out.
Do you care about Black lives? The people that run Baltimore don't. I can prove it. Walk with me. They don't want you to see this. I'm Kim Klacik. This is Baltimore, the real Baltimore. This is the reality for Black people every single day. Crumbling infrastructure, abandoned homes, poverty, and crime. Baltimore has been run by the Democrat Party for 53 years. What is the result of their decades of leadership? Baltimore is one of the top 5 most dangerous cities in America. The murder rate in Baltimore is 10 times the U.S. average. The Baltimore poverty rate is over 20%. Homicide, drug, and alcohol deaths are skyrocketing in our city. Do you believe Black Lives Matter? I do. The vast majority of crime in Baltimore is perpetrated against Black people, who make up 60% of the population. So why don't we care about our communities? The Democrat Party have betrayed the Black people of Baltimore. If the politicians walked the streets like I do, they would see exactly how their policies and corruption affects us.
That's good enough.
But they don't want to see it. They don't want you to see
You know, Al Sharpton said the other day before this Texas case got tossed by the Supreme Court, God help us, it may put Biden in the White House. Can you imagine that? It's hard for me to even talk about that the Supreme Court, with 3 Trump-appointed judges, turned their back on patriots across this country. I don't know how else to put it. They just did. Not even hearing the evidence. But let me get back to Al Sharpton. He said that the Texas challenge was racist, that they were focusing on black people and black votes, which is not true. But let's just go along with what Al Sharpton said for this point. You know what's truly racist and downright criminal? Is to allow black people to live in the cities like Baltimore, like places like New York are becoming, like Chicago, where they just routinely murder people. I mean, it's just like, I want us to over and under. You're talking about sports betting? What is the over and under in betting on how many people are going to die over the Christmas weekend or whatever in Chicago? That, ladies and gentlemen, is more racist than anything in a challenge of this. Anything, Donald Trump, they accuse him of being a racist, and I've been telling you, I hadn't said this in a while, but yeah, Donald Trump's the worst racist ever to be president because he sucks at it. He absolutely sucks at it. Look at what was happening with Black America under Trump's leadership. It was going in directions, as Bob Johnson, the founder of BET and the first black billionaire, said that Donald Trump was bringing light to darkness, and he was talking about economic light. We're into neighborhoods that had never seen it before. But now we're going to get Joe Dadgum Biden, man. It just, and the fact that they won't even challenge it, man. As I said, I don't know how they expect us to accept this. They think we're just going to pack it up and go home and play around or be bitter or head for the hills. We may be heading for Texas and Florida and everything. I think what's going to happen in this nation is we're going to end up kind of balkanizing the country. Maybe not literally in a sense that we have some kind of civil war, but people are going to vote with their feet, their businesses, and they're going to go to places like Texas and Florida, and they're going to set up basically freedom zones. But that's what's going to happen. And please, all I say to you, if you're coming to Florida, if you're coming to Texas, I think I can speak for them. Don't bring the politics that you're running from in California and New York and Massachusetts and Chicago and all that kind of stuff. Seattle. Somebody reminded me when I was talking about the other day about how bad things have happened in California. They said, hey, look at Portland out there, look at Oregon. And they were out there. And hey, the way the West has gone, especially the West Coast, my God, man, you guys are the pioneering founders of this nation. And you're having to put up with the nonsense that we're seeing out there. I pray for all of y'all, man. Come to Texas, come to Florida. Don't bring your politics that you're running from with you. I talked about that with my friend Sig, which you'll see on Tuesday's show. The coronavirus pandemic. Listen to this. This is the leftists being in total denial. Listen to this paragraph. The coronavirus pandemic has given a number of tech companies and prominent Silicon Valley figures an excuse to exit California. Hewlett-Packard, here's a list of companies that are moving. Hewlett-Packard Enterprise announced early this month that it will relocate its headquarters from San Jose, California to guess where? Houston, Texas. Texas data analysis software company Palantir Technologies also moved its headquarters Denver, Colorado, and from Palo Alto, California earlier this year. Tesla, Mr. Elon Musk, this is one of the fastest growing companies on the planet, has already announced that they're moved to Texas. So, and Larry Ellison is the Oracle guy. So, here's the question I have, and I'm quoting here from Oracle. They're worried about their employees' quality of life and quality of output. Let me ask you this question. And I ask this to snowflakes and jerks like Donnie Deutsch. What if me and Billy Bob, my psychic sidekick, he has a Twitter handle, it's @BillyBobBass1 and mine is @JohnMartinTalks. What if we want to live in a constitutional republic, in the land of the free and the home of the brave? What if we want to keep the republic, like Benjamin Franklin said when he was asked, would you give us a republic if you can keep it? What if that's where we want to live? Now that the Supreme Court, and it's not even about a ruling, because they didn't really even make a ruling. They didn't look at the evidence. I would have been, I won't say happy, but I could possibly accept if the Supreme Court looked at the case, heard the evidence, and said, look, whatever, there's not enough here to actually overturn these state elections. I might not have liked it. I might have had a hard time accepting it, but I'd have had a shot at accepting it. For them not to even take the case makes me feel like I'm living in what I've seen people chiming in on Facebook, a banana republic. I mean, it's just, I don't know. What do we do? I think we move to places like Florida. Thank God I'm here. I love our governor, Mr. DeSantis. We move to places like Texas. Don't bring your politics with you. And Georgia, I can't emphasize it enough. Do your dadgum job. I don't care about the corruption. Overwhelm it. Look, do whatever you got to do. Do your job, because you're voting for the very future of this nation and the fabric of it. You're voting for patriots everywhere. Please don't let us down. But my question is, why do those, and I'm not an America love it or I've never been, I get the drift of that, love it or leave it, but I got to ask, if you don't want to live under a constitutional republic, Mr. Deutsch, jerk Deutsch, then why don't you just move somewhere? Or maybe you just stay right there in New York. Maybe we have the Snake Plissken movies actually become a reality and you're trying to escape. I guarantee you at some point, Deutschie, you're going to want to escape from New York. And a lot of people are already escaping from LA. But don't bring your politics with you. All right, we got a few minutes left. As you can tell, this really just upsets me. But this next story upsets me as well. Excuse me. I'm not a person that likes to live upset. I don't. Pelosi, this is a Breitbart story. Pelosi, House will vote on long overdue Hyde Amendment repeal in 2021. Now, she's not necessarily going to be the next speaker. We'll see. But I love that picture right there. That pretty much sums up a lot of President Trump, man. He cares about life. He cares about the lives of Americans, both the unborn and the newly born, the old, the 8 to 80. I mean, he cares about the American people. I really love that meme. I think it kind of sums up, and it also makes me sad when I think about what's happening right now. During a press conference on Thursday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, the ice cream lady from San Francisco, let you eat ice cream, the one that don't believe she's a perfect little communist because she says, hey, you got to stay shut down and you can't get your hair washed. But me, I can go and do anything I want. I mean, that's the perfect little communist. Do what I say. Don't worry about what I do. In California, my God, are y'all full of them out there, man. I pity you. On Thursday, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat of California, said the House will vote on repealing the Hyde Amendment in 2021 and that she believes it's long overdue to repeal the Hyde Amendment. Now, the Hyde Amendment, at its essence, does not allow federal tax dollars, in other words, your money, to pay for abortion. But, of course, it's being circumvented all the time because Planned Parenthood, I mean, they play a shell game. I'll just use them as an example. They're the best known abortion clinics. They get like, what, $500 million? And Republicans give it to them. And President Trump should have vetoed it. But they gave him, I think it was $500 million last year. And they worked against the president, which shows you how crazy Republicans can be sometimes. You think the Democrats would give money to something that worked against them? Nah, never. They're better at that than we are. But the Planned Parenthood got roughly $500 million in the last budget, and they've been getting that kind of money routinely. Now, they say that they don't use any of that money for abortion, that it's used for women's health and various things. And I'm not disputing that they don't use a bunch of that. But that's kind of like, think about it. That's kind of like saying, okay, you and your spouse are going to, maybe y'all make $100,000 a piece. Or 50 grand, a total of 100 grand. I'm just trying to use a simple example. And you say, okay, well, we're not going to spend any of your money John, on vacation. Your money's only going to go to pay the bills, and we're only going to use my money for vacation. If your total amount is $100,000, does it really matter how it goes and shuffle? I mean, come on. It's the total income you have, and you replace money and put it other places. So this idea that Planned Parenthood can get $500 million of your tax money and none of that money goes to abortion is ludicrous. It's absolutely ludicrous. But if they do away with the Hyde Amendment, they can come out the shadow and just spend the money willy-nilly, and they'll probably get an increase. So that's what's at stake here. But repeal of the Hyde Amendment will open the floodgates, in my opinion, to money. Which I hate to keep beating this horse. It ain't dead yet. But that's another reason for y'all to get up off your keisters and do what you need to do in Georgia, because it will pass if you don't do what you need to do. Pelosi responded to a question on whether repealing the Hyde Amendment will come up before the whole House in 2021 by saying, well, I don't know if there will be a bill to do that, but it will be part of a legislation. So they're talking about bringing back earmarks, by the way. Steny Hoyer mentioned that the other day, where they kind of hide stuff in bills. And she said, yes, I think that is. I mean, I myself have been an opponent, this is Nancy Pelosi, of the Hyde Amendment long before I came to Congress. So she's been wanting your money to pay for abortions for a long time. So I would be receptive to that happening, yes. Now, I'm going to play you a video right now that is a snippet of this press conference. It doesn't cover the part that we've already mentioned, but I want you to hear what she's talking about with abortion funding, because that's what she's talking about, taxpayer money funding abortion, and how she sees it. It is a convoluted mess. Check it out.
Well, again, our biggest partner in all of this are the American people, And the American people know that we have to have fairness in what we do. And this is not an issue of the Hyde Amendment. It is an issue as to the impact that it has in terms of unfairness to women in our country. So this will be an interesting debate. Again, respectful of all views, but nonetheless, again, I way before I was in Congress, as soon as the Hyde Amendment was there, I was thinking, how can we get rid of that? So
that's good.
It's long overdue.
Long overdue. Fairness and respectful of all views. I love that statement she made. Fairness and respectful of all views. Is there any context where you could put that statement with Nancy Pelosi? Fairness and respectful of all views. I don't see how she could even utter those words, let alone that be put in. If I were to say that there's one person in Congress that has respect and fairness for all views, fill in the blank, how many of you would put Nancy Pelosi in that category? I mean, it's just the opposite. She doesn't care about anything but her own power. Her own power. That's all she cares about. But fairness. I mean, they keep telling us, ladies and gentlemen, that now is the time to unify. And you're going to hear so much of that, after the Electoral College votes later today. And God help us if Joe Biden actually becomes president with Kamala Harris, some kind of co-presidency or whatever. They keep telling us we need to unify. So they slap us across the face, our own Supreme Court with our own majority, conservative majority, with 3 members of that Supreme Court that Donald Trump put there, and they slapped us across the face by not even taking the case and listening to the evidence. Yet they want us to unify. We're getting unified all right, but not kind of the way you might think. And they want us to unify behind what? Because if we can't unify, I've been telling you this for a while, but it's becoming a self-fulfilling prophecy if we can't, the only thing we can unify behind is the U.S. Constitution, and they're tearing it to shreds. Republicans as well, tearing it to dadgum shreds. If we can't unify behind the U.S. Constitution, what are we supposed to unify? Maybe this video right here that kind of ties into the Hyde Amendment. Are we supposed to unify behind this? Can we play that video?
Republican delegate about whether her bill would permit an abortion even as a woman is essentially dilating, ready to give birth. And she answered that it would permit an abortion at that stage of labor. Do you support her measure and explain her answer?
Yeah, and I wasn't there, Julie, and I certainly can't speak for Delegate Tran, but I would tell you, first thing I would say, this is why decisions such as this should be made by providers, physicians, and the mothers and fathers that are involved. There are, when we talk about third trimester abortions, these are done with the consent of obviously the mother, with the consent of the physicians, more than one physician, by the way. And it's done in cases where there may be severe deformities, there may be a fetus that's non-viable. So in this particular example, if a mother is in labor, I can tell you exactly what would happen. The infant would be delivered. The infant would be kept comfortable. The infant would be resuscitated if that's what the mother and the family desired. And then a discussion would ensue between the physicians and the mother. So I think this was really blown out of proportion.
That's good enough.
But again, we want...
Ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, I don't know how else to say it. I can't abide, this old Southern saying, I can't abide by that. I just can't get unified behind that. I can get unified behind the Constitution. It doesn't mean that we agree on everything. But if we don't agree on the Constitution, then what the world is the foundation to get unified from? I don't have all the answers. And I'm going to be dealing with this over the coming weeks. And I promise you, I will give you my best shot at finding some solutions to this. Hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to John Martin Talks Facebook page, like it, share it with others. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. Remember the giveaway we got with patriotthreads.org, JMT 20% off code. Remember our sponsor, Big Daddy Unlimited. Look above the show no matter where you're watching. Check them out. Let's pray for this great United States of America. Boy, she needs it, and our president, because he has earned that. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day.